Hey everyone, Mac here, and we have another video coming at you for Wonder May this month. And what we are taking a look at today is this, the DC Comics DC Essentials, the Cheetah. The Cheetah, of course, being one of the villains from Wonder Woman 1984, as well as being one of her, if not the most iconic villain in her Rogues Gallery. I would argue that Cheetah, even above Ares, is probably her main antagonist in the comic right now. Definitely her nemesis, and the one that is pretty much a matchup to Diana in the comics. What we have here is DC Essentials. Now, they say they're a 7-inch figure, but to tell you the truth, inside the box, it looks like this is maybe a 6-inch figure stacking up next to our caped Wonder Woman that we took a look at in the last Wonder May video. So let's take a look at the box. Up on top, we have a nice little cheetah print right there. I like that. That's kind of cool. The box has a side window over here, how the front window wraps around so that light can get in from the side. And in the back we can see a cross-cell with Cyborg Superman, Supergirl, Cheetah right here, and Wonder Woman there. And when you look on the back, you can see the other figures that they had for this series, which was those same ones. Wonder Woman, which I haven't seen yet, so I don't think I have that one. Supergirl, and Cyborg Superman. Now, this is my first DC Essentials figure that I'll be opening up, that I'll be taking a look at. I picked it up in my local comic shop, and it looks like she looks like a really well done figure. I'm real curious to see her articulation and just the build of the figure. On the side here, we have some nice artwork of the figure herself. That's really it. It's very clean, very simple packaging. It's not too busy. It's not detracting from the figure itself. It's basically saying what it is, presenting you the figure, and that's pretty much it. So, let's open this up. We'll take a look at her and see what we think of DC Essentials, the Cheetah. Okay, so here Cheetah is out of the box, and first of all, before we get started, I'm just going to say there are things that I both love and hate about this figure. Well, things that I appreciate and things that frustrate me about this figure. And typically, the things that frustrate me and the things that I appreciate are one and the same, and you'll see what we mean, or you'll see what I mean the more into this review that I get. First off, something I want to do is I want to put that 7-inch action figure measurement to the test, because I don't believe she's really a 7-inch figure. So let's get the tape measure here, and we'll set it down, and as you can see, she's coming in at about 6.5 inches. She's not a full 7-inch figure, so we're looking at approximately 7.5 inches to the top of her head. So first off, there we go. She's not a true 7-inch figure. She probably would scale if you want to consider that she would just be shorter than some of the other figures. Now, first thing we want to take a look at is this, her face sculpt. Now, she does have a beautiful face sculpt. And the paint deco, one second please. The paint deco on her is just fantastic. The eyes are painted wonderfully. Like, that's always a big thing in action figures, that sometimes you don't get both of the eyes that are focused in together. One's like with the Wonder Woman figure that I had in the last review, one eye was kind of looking off to the side. But these, the paint deco on her face is just fantastic. The eyes are proportioned. They're looking in the same direction. But this right here is one of the things that frustrates me and I love at the same time. For example, her necklace here. Her necklace is not part of the sculpt. Her necklace is a separate piece that moves independently. And while that is great, it's a very good sculpt. You can see that it gets caught on her bangs sometimes and doesn't always want to lay flat to her collar. Her bangs are another issue. That this one was okay, but this one, when I took it out of the box, if you go back and you look at the beginning of the review and you look inside the box, this bang isn't there. It actually fell off. There's a right up top here. Focus in, come on. she's too close. You can see right up top here where that seam line is. This piece of sculpt had fallen off. So it was a real easy fix. All I had to do was get out the craggle, put a small dollop of glue on it, and just hold the piece back in. And it dried very well. You can't even tell anymore. So that's not a huge issue, and I don't know if maybe that's something that's indicative of this figure, or if that was just something that happened to mine. But a little bit of craggle and everything worked out perfectly. Now the body sculpt in general on this figure is wonderful. That it's very feline, very powerful looking, very Cheetah in the look of it. And the paint deco, I love the paint deco. The different tones in her skin tone and her fur color, all of the spots on her. The whole thing is just painted beautifully. Now, as far as articulation goes, there's a lot of articulation with this figure. The camera does not want to focus today. First of all, the head is on a ball joint, and you can do a full 360. See that once again, though, that necklace gets caught up whenever you turn the head. You kind of have to work it back around. She can't look up very much because of her hairpiece, but she can look down, look to the sides. Shoulders are also on ball joints. They come out to about yay far. And they do a full 360 spin. She has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, wrist swivel, and pivots. Okay. Now, she does have a waist crunch that is also on a ball joint, so you can get a lot of dynamic posing out of that. And this is very, very orbital, very loose, but it does hold its position very well too. If you rein back too far, though, see that in there, you can start to see the ball peg. Cheetah's packing a six-pack. Now, her legs. She can do the splits. They're also on a ball joint. Or partial ball joint. They go that far forward. And they don't go back very far. But she does have double jointed knees. And I'll tell you what, this one at first, when I pulled it out, oh, this one was tight. I was worried I was going to break it. The upper joint here almost didn't want to fold back as well. She has a thigh swivel and a calf swivel, as well as rocking ankles and the ankle swivel. They don't really pivot side to side, but you can get some posing out of them by repositioning them. All in all, I think she's a great figure, especially considering she's the first DC Essentials that I have. Just a few critiques on it. Like I said, the necklace is really frustrating. The necklace is really frustrating to me because whenever you turn the head, you have to reset the necklace. And it's hard to get in there and move it. The belt is the same way, but it's loose as well. But because it's on the waist and you can get to it easily, I really don't have an issue with the belt. The hands, you have that clawed attack look on the hands, and I like that open claw. I would have liked if we would have maybe gotten some additional hands with her that were more in a relaxed position, possibly. Or if we would have gotten another head. And as much as I love this portrait sculpting here, of her face, maybe if we would have gotten a more snarling, predatory attack look instead of just this look that we got. Because to me, the hands and the face don't really match up. That you have these open claws. I mean, let's look at her nails right there. She's definitely on the attack with this. You have these open claws right here, but you don't have an expression to match. And Cheetah Cheetah snarls a lot in the comics. We'll get more into who and what Cheetah is when we take a look at the Lego minifigs. But right now, I just want to take a look at this figure. Now, on the bottom of her feet, we do have a peg hole here for a stand, but that hole is very small and very shallow. I don't know if that would actually fit on a typical stand, action figure stand. As far as flexibility goes, she is incredibly flexible, and she is very posable. I was able to get some really good poses out of her, but the problem is, as you can see here, that she doesn't balance very well. And I think it's really because she doesn't have very big feet. And without having a solid base, it's hard to get her in a position where she can just stand naturally. All in all, let's take a look at the back here. Her tail, I almost forgot about her tail. Her tail has various points of articulation so that you can turn this tail out and really get a look with the tail. It's only spotted on one side. You see the underside here isn't spotted, which is kind of a bummer. I would have preferred if they would have spotted the whole thing, but it is what it is, and it's not a make or break for the figure. But you can put it up, you can have it dropping down, wrap it around her leg. I did one pose where you could put it in her hand, like she's holding it. She has a fairly dynamic looking tail, and you can use that to just finish off your posing, get some real good looks out of her. Now there you go. I say she falls over every time I try and stand her up, and this time she stands up with no problem. Okay, here she is beside the Mattel DC Multiverse Wonder Woman that we opened up in the last video. And I just want to do a side-by-side comparison to see how they scale up against each other. And you can see Cheetah might be a little bit taller, but this is also something that I wanted to do, because I apologize, I forgot to do this in her own video, is actually take a measure on Wonder Woman herself. And you see she's coming in at roughly 6 1/4, 6.5 inches tall herself. So scaling wise, Cheetah might have 1/4 of an inch, if that. Actually, I think they're actually pretty dead on. Cheetah's maybe a little taller, but that's okay because different artists have interpreted her different ways. Sometimes she's the same size as Diana, sometimes she's a little shorter, maybe sometimes she's taller. I really can't remember, because also in the comic, Cheetah is crouching a lot. And sometimes it's hard to gauge just how tall she actually is. But all in all, the DC Comics Essentials Cheetah, I really like this figure. And as far as the issues with standing her up and posing, and sometimes her falling over whenever you're trying to get a decent pose out of her, I think I'm going to see about getting some sort of like either cradle figure stand, or maybe one that can grip around her waist, because I definitely want to put this figure out. This is a beautiful looking figure. The articulation is fantastic. The sculpt is fantastic. The paint app on her, I can't talk enough about. I think this is just a beautiful figure all around. And unlike the Caped Wonder Woman that I just had, who I said I was going to probably display in the box, Cheetah I definitely want to leave out. I'm also curious to see, with her size, how she matches up against the McFarlane Toys 7-inch Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman 1984. If they'll be scaled together, if I'll be able to pose them together, or if I'm going to need McFarlane Toys to bring out a Cheetah figure just to match up to Diana. So that's what we have for you today. I want to thank you for taking the time and taking a look at this figure with me. I know this is a few years old. Let me see, what's the date on the box here, if I can find that real fast. Doesn't look like there's a date on the box, but I know this one has been out for a few years, and I just picked it up at my local comic shop. So, if anybody has this, let me know if the hair falling out is a common issue, what you think of this figure, what you think of the DC Essentials, DC Collectibles in general is, with this being my first figure. And I want to take a look at it and see if I can find that Wonder Woman figure that was on the box. That looks really good. So we'll have more coming down the line. We'll be finishing up the Halo Battle for the Ark blind bag series. We'll be doing more with the LEGO Series 20 blind bag series. And of course, we'll be having more videos coming down the line for Wonder May. Play well, everyone. Stay safe. And as always, thank you for watching.